Okay, our story for now is called Sparky, and it comes from Bedtime Adventures, Fluffy and His Friends. And this is actually one of Fluffy's good friends. The story is called Sparky. Well, one time the shepherd decided that he needed to go and find a good sheepdog, a dog that could help him round up all the sheep and just help him do some of the things. Now, he had some helper lambs and things like that, but now the shepherd decided he really wanted a good sheepdog, and he had his heart set on something called a border collie, kind of a black and white dog, and these dogs are very smart and they're very good sheepdogs. So the shepherd went to the town and he found a man who sold dogs to the other shepherds in it. He sold German shepherds and sheepdogs and everything, but the shepherd had one kind of dog in mind. So he went and he talked to the man and he said, do you have any sheepdogs here? And the man said, well, what kind do you want? You know that there are a lot of dogs that can help with sheep. And he says, well, I would like a border collie. Oh, and the man got kind of a funny expression on his face and he said, well, you know, I used to have some, but I don't think I would have a dog right now you'd be interested in. And the shepherd said, does that mean you don't have any border collies? And he said, well, yeah, I have one, a baby, but I don't think you would be interested in it. And the shepherd said, can I see it? And he said, sure. So they went in and they looked down in a pen, and there was hay in there and everything was nice and clean and everything for the little puppy. But the little puppy that was in there, he was just lying down and he wouldn't even lift up his head. You know, a lot of times when you go and see a puppy, they'll start jumping up and they'll start yapping and everything, like they want to make friends with you, but not this puppy. He seemed really, really sad. And the shepherd looked at him and he looked at the man from the shop and he said, is he sick? And he said, no. You know what just happened? His mommy and daddy were show dogs. And they were on their way to a show, and there was a car crash, and the mommy and daddy never came back. They died. And ever since then, he's been so sad, and we've been trying to help him and give him food and everything, and he won't eat. And he says, that really worries me. And the shepherd said, do you mind if I pick him up? And he said, sure. So the shepherd reached down, and he put the doggie up in his hands. I mean, he fit just in both of his hands like that. He was so small. And the shepherd said, oh, little doggie, I know that you're sad, but you know what? If you came to live with me, I bet you'd be happy because I have a lot of nice lambs and they would be fun for you to be with and they would really, really like you. And the shepherd looked right into his eyes, those sad little doggy eyes, and you'll never guess what happened. His tail started wagging. And all of a sudden, he kind of brought up his head a little bit. And the man who owned the store said, well, I haven't gotten him to do anything like that in a whole week. I thought he was going to die. And the man said, you know what? If that doggie will be happy with you, you can just take him. His mother and father were some of the best sheepdog I've ever seen. And out of honor to them, if you can keep that little guy going and everything, you can just have him. Well, the shepherd was really happy. And he had a lot of faith in that little puppy. So he put the puppy in the truck with him in a little box with some hay in it and everything. And he was driving back and he thought, oh, this is going to be nice. I just hope that he'll like the sheep and everything. But you know what? He couldn't think of a name for the doggie. So he didn't worry about it. He got to his pasture, and when he pulled his truck in, all the lambs came because they thought he might be bringing a doggie home. And he did bring a doggie home, a little puppy, and they looked at the puppy, and he was just adorable. You could even tell when the puppy looked at all the lambs, he was starting to get happy because I think that's what sheepdog are. They're happy around lambs and things like that. And so anyway, but the shepherd said to them, you know, I haven't found a name for him yet, and we'll just have to think about it. So all the lambs decided they would help. And one said, hey, I have an idea. Let's name him Diaper. And another said, no, 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 no. Let's name him Bottle Cap. And another said, no, let's name him Banana Peel. And the shepherd said, well, why don't we just wait and we'll look at him and we'll see what he acts like. And maybe we'll find a name that way. And so this is kind of a happy story because that little puppy went everywhere with the shepherd, and he was a quick learner. Even though he was a very little puppy and he couldn't run very fast, all the lambs could run faster than this little doggy could run. But he caught on, and he kind of knew what to do, and you could just see he was going to fit in really, really nice. Well, weeks later, and he had grown a little bit, but he was still puppyish and everything. Weeks later, one of the helper lambs came to the shepherd, and he said, Shepherd, I think I saw a wolf over at the west fence. Ooh, and the shepherd was very concerned about that. You could tell all the lambs were concerned. And the shepherd said, excuse me, the shepherd said, you know what? I need some helper lambs to go with me, and we need to look because wolves very seldom travel alone. And we may be surrounded, so we need to find out. And he said to one of the helper lambs, he said, take all of the lambs and go back to the barn and go and lock yourself in there so you be safe. And he said to the little doggy, you go back with the helper lamb too, because you'll need to be back there and to help him keep the lambs safe. Well, when he heard that, he wasn't very happy. Because the little helper dog was always with the shepherd. He hardly did anything without the shepherd. I think he even slept in the same bed with the shepherd sometimes. And he said, I want to go with you. He says, I know you want to go with me, but right now it's more important that you obey. This is a really serious matter, and I need you to be where you can be a good help to this helper lamb to protect the sheep. So I want you to go back. And he said, will you go back? And he said, okay. So the helper lamb went back with the sheep. But after the shepherd and the other helper lambs had walked a little ways, all of a sudden the shepherd looked back, and there was the little puppy. He was still following them. The helper lamb had taken the other lambs back all by himself, and the little puppy was still going after the shepherd. And the shepherd went over to the little puppy, and this time he spoke a little bit more seriously. He says, you know what? He says, you have to trust me that I know what is best for you and also for the sheep. You have to learn to obey. And I want you to go back there right now because that helper lamb is alone with all those lambs and you need to go and help him. Will you do that for me right now? He went, okay, shepherd. He said, you're really going to obey me? He said, okay. And so the shepherd and the other helper lambs went on. The little doggy turned around and he went back. Now, when he went back, I'll be really honest with you, he was kind of feeling sorry for himself and sulking. Says, oh, I could have been with the shepherd, and I would have been a big help to him too. That helper lamb doesn't need me or anything. And it seemed like it took him forever to get back to the barn. And he could see the barn way out there, and he was still moping and walking slowly. And all of a sudden, something happened to him. He smelled something that he had never smelled before. It was wild, and it was hairy, and it made the hair on the back of his neck stand up, and he wanted to howl. That's how bad it was. But he thought, maybe it wouldn't be a good idea for me to howl. And so he started walking faster. And so he got back to the barn, and he opened the door with his nose, and he was going in, and then he smelled it really bad. And all of a sudden, it's like inside of him, he felt like he needed to protect those sheep. And he walked in and he saw something that scared him, because in front of him, with his back to him, was a big gray wolf. And in front of the wolf, where the doggy could actually see him, was one of the helper lamb who went back. But the helper lamb, he was kind of bit up a little bit, and there was some blood on his legs and everything, because the wolf had bit the helper lamb. But the helper lamb was standing in between the wolf and the other lambs, and he was protecting them. And the doggy came in, and he was really, really quiet. and the hair on the back of his neck was standing up, and his ears were put right up, and he was looking at that wolf, and all of a sudden the wolf went after the helper lamb, and he went to bite the helper lamb, and the helper lamb tried to butt him a little bit, and he did, but he couldn't do it very much, and the wolf bit him. But just as the wolf bit him, all of a sudden the wolf yelled, "Roar!" And what had happened was the little doggy ran right between his legs and got up under his throat, and he bit it, and he went, "Roar!" And the wolf was scared and everything, and he was howling, and he threw the doggy off, and the wolf turned around, and he looked at the doggy, and he was mad. And he started to chase the doggy, but the doggy, it was a good thing that the shepherd used to put bales of hay in the barn, because the doggy ran between two bales of hay just before the wolf got there, and he got into the hay, and the wolf couldn't get him. And the wolf was so mad, he was digging at that hay, and he forgot about the helper lamb. And all of a sudden, boom, the helper lamb hit him right in the rear end, and the wolf flew up in the air on some bales of hay, and now the wolf was mad at the helper lamb. So he turned around, and he ran after the helper lamb, and he pushed the helper lamb down, and he was going to bite him, but before he could, something started gnawing on his leg. That little doggy came out, and the wolf went, "Bark!" And he went out. He turned around and he went after the doggy again. And that doggy was so quick, he went right back into those bales of hay, and the wolf couldn't get him. And he forgot about the helper lamb again. And boom, right in the rear end. The helper lamb got him, and the wolf turned around, and he was really, really mad now. And so what he did was he went after the helper lamb. He pushed him down, and he was going to bite him, but he paused for a second. He was waiting for something. And instead of biting the helper lamb, he turned around real quick, and there was a little doggy, nose to nose with him. What was the little doggy going to do? He didn't know what to do, so he bit the wolf on the nose. And the little doggy ran back to the bales of hay, but this time the wolf was right behind him. And the wolf used his front paw, and he swatted him against the hay. And the little doggy was just lying there, and the wolf came closer and closer and closer. He was going to bite him, and all of a sudden, the oak staff of the shepherd came right down on his back. Boom! And the wolf, he was so afraid he didn't even howl this time. He just looked up, and he saw the shepherd was going to hit him again, and he saw all the helper rams around there, and he ran right out the door. And so the shepherd, he went over to the helper lamb who was bleeding and everything, and he checked him, and he saw that there were no broken bones, and the helper lamb said, "I'm okay." And he went over to the little doggy, and he looked at the little doggy, and the little doggy wasn't hurt. He was just afraid. And in fact, the hair on the back of his neck was still standing up, and his ears were still alert and ready and everything. And the shepherd looked at him, and he said, "Thank you for obeying me and coming back." He said, "You know what? You probably saved all of the lambs in the barn by obeying me." And he said, "I know, shepherd." And one of the, as he was talking, one of the lambs said, "Oh, you should have seen him, shepherd. He was just like a little lightning bolt, and he would spark out of the bales of hay, and he would bite the wolf, and he would spark back in, and then the wolf would turn around, and he would spark back out, and he would..." And the shepherd said, "You know what? What if we gave him the name Sparky?" And that's how Sparky got his name. And the point of the story is, sometimes, and most times, almost all times, when mommies and daddies or Jesus or other people tell us to obey, we really should. Because, again, it's for our own good. And sometimes they have wisdom and they have understanding about things that we don't know about, and they really want us to be in the right place at the right time. So just like Sparky, we have to learn, even though we're a little bit disappointed, better to obey.